One book, one extraordinary life. 48 chapters of saints, science, and the search for God.
I'm Kai.
And I'm Maya.
And this is our take on Autobiography of a Yogi, chapter by chapter. A young man climbs the stairs of a house he hasn't entered since the worst day of his life, number 50 Amherst Street, the house where his mother died. And on the fourth floor, sitting in the midst of devotions, is a saint with a silky white beard and large lustrous eyes, who says, without looking up, "Little sir, please be seated. I am talking to my Divine Mother."
Chapter 9, The Blissful Devotee and His Cosmic Romance. And this chapter is one of the most emotionally layered in the entire book, because the geography matters. 50 Amherst Street. This was the house where Mukunda's family once lived, the house his mother prepared for Anantha's wedding, the house where she died. And now it's the residence of Master Mahasaya, a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna Paramhansa, one of the most beloved saints in Indian history. The place where Mukunda lost his human mother becomes the place where he meets the Divine Mother face to face.
And the moment he enters, something breaks open in him. He enters the room silently, in great awe. The angelic appearance of Master Mahasaya fairly dazzled him. With silky white beard and large lustrous eyes, he seemed an incarnation of purity. His upraised chin and folded hands told Mukunda that his first visit had disturbed the saint in the midst of his devotions. And then those simple words of greeting.
"Little sir, please be seated. I am talking to my Divine Mother." And Yogananda writes that these simple words of greeting produced the most violent effect his nature had so far experienced. The bitter separation from his mother's death, which he had thought was the measure of all anguish, now an agony at separation from the Divine Mother, was an indescribable torture of the spirit. He fell moaning to the floor.
He collapses. In the very house where his human mother died, he's overwhelmed by the absence of the Divine Mother. Two losses colliding in a single room. And Master Mahasaya is sympathetically distressed. "Little sir, quiet yourself." But Mukunda can't be quieted. Abandoned in some oceanic desolation, he clutches at the saint's feet as the sole raft of his rescue.
And he begs, "Holy Sir, thy intercession, ask Divine Mother if I find any favor in her sight." And this promise, Yogananda writes, is one not easily bestowed. The master was constrained to silence. He knows what Mukunda is asking. He knows the weight of it. But Mukunda is shameless in his gripping of the saint's feet, deaf to his gentle remonstrances, beseeching him again and again for his intervening grace.
And finally, Master Mahasaya capitulates. "I will make your plea to the beloved." And the capitulation comes with a slow, compassionate smile. Not reluctant, compassionate, as if he knows what's about to happen and is already moved by it. And Mukunda writes, "What power in those few words, that my being should know release from its stormy exile."
He rushes home. "Sir, remember your pledge. I shall return soon for her message." And joyful anticipation rang in a voice that only a moment ago had been sobbing in sorrow. That night, Mukunda seeks the seclusion of his small attic on Gupar Road. He remains in meditation until 10 o'clock, and the darkness of the warm Indian night is suddenly lit with a wondrous vision.
Haloed in splendor, the Divine Mother stands before him. Her face, tenderly smiling, was beauty itself. And she speaks two sentences that collapse all of time. "Always have I loved thee. Ever shall I love thee. Not I love you now. Always, ever. Past and future dissolved into a single declaration of eternal love." The celestial tones still ringing in the air, she disappeared.
And the next morning, the sun has hardly risen when Mukunda goes back to 50 Amherst Street. He climbs the staircase in the house of poignant memories. The knob of the closed door is wrapped around with a cloth, a hint that the saint desires privacy. As Mukunda stands irresolutely on the landing, the door is opened by the master's welcoming hand.
And here's a detail I absolutely love. Mukunda is in a playful mood. He wears a solemn mask over his face, hiding the divine elation. He kneels at the holy feet and says with false gravity, "Sir, I have come very early, I confess, for your message. Did the beloved mother say anything about me?" And Master Mahasaya's response is perfect. "Mischievous little sir." Not another remark would he make. Apparently, Mukunda's assumed gravity was unimpressive.
So Mukunda pushes. Why so mysterious, so evasive? Do saints never speak plainly? And perhaps he was a little provoked. And then Master Mahasaya looks at him with calm eyes full of understanding. "Must you test me? Could I add a single word this morning to the assurance you received last night at 10 o'clock from the beautiful mother herself?"
Wait, he knew. He knew the exact time, 10 o'clock. He knew what happened. He knew who appeared and what she said, without being told, without being present, without any possible way of knowing through ordinary means. Master Mahasaya had access to the same reality Mukunda had touched in that moment of vision. He was simply there, always. And the precision of that knowledge, the exact time, leaves no room for coincidence or vague intuition. This is direct perception, anubhava, the very thing Bhaiduri Mahasaya asked Mukunda about in the previous chapter. And Mukunda plunges prostrate at his feet again, but this time the tears welled from a bliss and not a pain past bearing.
And Master Mahasaya says something that ties the whole chapter together. Think you that your devotion did not touch the infinite mercy? The motherhood of God, that you have worshipped in forms both human and divine, could never fail to answer your forsaken cry. The motherhood of God, the human mother he lost, the cosmic mother who spoke to him in his grief, the divine mother who appeared last night, all expressions of one love, one motherhood operating through every form.
And then Mukunda describes descending the long stairway, overwhelmed by memories. Here his human heart had broken for the vanished mother, and here today his spirit had been as though crucified by absence of the divine mother. Hallowed walls, silent witness of his grievous hurts and final healing. The same staircase, the same house, two different losses years apart, and now both healed in the same place.
And who was this simple saint? Yogananda asks the question with real wonder. His role in the world was humble, as befitted the greatest man of humility he ever knew. In this Amherst Street house, Master Mahasaya conducted a small high school for boys. No words of chastisement passed his lips. No rule and ferule maintained his discipline. Higher mathematics indeed were taught in these modest classrooms, and a chemistry of love absent from the textbooks. He spread his wisdom by spiritual contagion rather than impermeable precept.
Spiritual contagion. I love that phrase. You catch devotion from Master Mahasaya the way you catch a cold. You're in his presence and suddenly you're infected with love. No lecture required, no technique, just proximity to a man who lives in God's presence like a fish lives in water. And consumed by an unsophisticated passion for the Divine Mother, the saint no more demanded the outward forms of respect than a child. He didn't need you to bow or perform rituals in his presence. He just needed you to be there. The rest happened by itself.
And that's the sixth core teaching in action, the one about the guru-disciple relationship. The guru communicates through presence, not just words. Master Mahasaya barely teaches anything in this chapter. He doesn't give lectures or explain philosophy. He just is, and his being transforms everyone around him. Sri Yukteswar will later do the same for Mukunda, but with a different temperament entirely. Where Master Mahasaya is all tenderness, Sri Yukteswar will be all precision, but the mechanism is the same, presence. And Master Mahasaya tells Mukunda something that sets up the entire rest of the book. I am not your guru, he shall come a little later. Through his guidance, your experiences of the divine in terms of love and devotion shall be translated into his terms of fathomless wisdom.
He knows he's not the final destination. He's pointing forward. The guru is coming, and when he comes, he'll take this love and give it structure. And then the encounters that follow are extraordinary in their lightness. They're walking one evening when a conceited acquaintance burdens them with a lengthy discourse, and the saint whispers, unheard by the egotist who is spellbound by his own monologue, I see this man doesn't please you. I have spoken to Divine Mother about it. She realizes our sad predicament. As soon as we get to yonder red house, she is promised to remind him of more urgent business.
And Mukunda's eyes are glued to the red house. They reach it, and the man unaccountably turns and departs, neither finishing his sentence nor saying goodbye. The assaulted heir was comforted with peace. The Divine Mother as social coordinator, arranging the departure of a boar at a specific street address.
And another day, Mukunda is walking alone near the Howrah railway station. He stands by a temple, silently criticizing a small group of men who are violently reciting a chant with what he considers mechanical, undevotional repetition. How undevotionally they use the Lord's divine name in mechanical repetition, he reflects. And Master Mahasaya suddenly appears beside him. Sir, how come you here? But the saint ignores his question and answers his unspoken thought instead.
Isn't it true, little sir, that the beloved's name sounds sweet from all lips, ignorant or wise? He passed his arm around Mukunda affectionately, and Mukunda found himself carried on his magic carpet to the merciful presence. Just like that, a gentle correction of a judgmental thought, delivered with an arm around the shoulder. That's Master Mahasaya's entire teaching method. Don't lecture, love.
And then comes the bioscope scene, and this is where the chapter goes somewhere I didn't expect at all. Would you like to see some bioscopes? Master Mahasaya asks one afternoon. Bioscope was the Indian term for motion pictures. Mukunda agrees, glad to be in his company in any circumstances. A brisk walk brings them to the garden front, Calcutta University. Master Mahasaya indicates a bench near the Goldigi, the pond. Let us sit here for a few minutes. My master always asked me to meditate whenever I saw an expanse of water. Here its placidity reminds us of the vast calmness of God. As all things can be reflected in water, so the whole universe is mirrored in the lake of the cosmic mind.
And then they enter a university hall where a lecture is in progress. Abysmally dull, Yogananda writes, though varied occasionally by lantern slide illustrations, equally uninteresting. And Mukunda thinks impatiently, so this is the kind of bioscope the master wanted me to see. But he wouldn't hurt the saint by revealing boredom in his face. And then Master Mahasaya leans toward him confidentially.
I see, little sir, that you don't like this bioscope. I have mentioned it to Divine Mother. She is in full sympathy with us both. She tells me that the electric lights will now go out and won't be relit until we have a chance to leave the room." And as his whisper ended, the hall was plunged into darkness. The professor's strident voice was stilled in astonishment. By the time they were safely across the threshold, the lights came back on.
And once outside, Master Mahasaya says, "Little sir, you were disappointed in that bioscope, but I think you will like a different one." And standing on the sidewalk, he gently slaps Mukunda's chest over the heart. And what follows is one of the most extraordinary passages in the entire book.
A transforming silence ensues. Yogananda compares it to when modern talkies become inaudible motion pictures when the sound apparatus goes out of order. The divine hand, by some strange miracle, stifled the earthly bustle. The pedestrians, the passing trolley cars, automobiles, bullock carts, and iron-wheeled hackney carriages were all in noiseless transit. As though possessing an omnipresent eye, he beheld the scenes which were behind him and to each side as easily as those in front. The whole spectacle of activity in that small section of Calcutta passed before him without a sound.
Like a glow of fire dimly seen beneath a thin coat of ashes, a mellow luminescence permeated the panoramic view. His own body seemed nothing more than one of the many shadows, though it was motionless while the others flitted mutely to and fro. Several boys, friends of his, approached and passed on. Though they had looked directly at him, it was without recognition. He was invisible to them.
And the unique pantomime brought him an inexpressible ecstasy. He drank deep from some blissful fount. And then suddenly, Master Mahasaya's chest received another soft blow. The pandemonium of the world burst upon his unwilling ears. He staggered, as though harshly awakened from a gossamer dream. The transcendental wine removed beyond his reach.
"Little sir, I see you found the second bioscope to your liking." The saint was smiling, and Mukunda starts to drop in gratitude on the ground before him, and Master Mahasaya stops him. "You can't do that to me now. You know God is in your temple also. I won't let Divine Mother touch my feet through your hands." Even in receiving gratitude, he deflects everything toward God.
And Yogananda writes that if anyone observed the unpretentious master and himself as they walked away from the crowded pavement, the onlooker surely suspected them of intoxication. He felt that the falling shades of evening were sympathetically drunk with God. When darkness recovered from its nightly swoon, he faced the new morning bereft of his ecstatic mood. But the memory of that silent panorama never left him. 2 bioscopes in one afternoon, and the second one rewrote his understanding of what perception itself could be.
And they made pilgrimages together to Dakishore Temple, hallowed by Master Mahasaya's guru, Sri Ramakrishna, the 4-mile journey taken by boat on the Ganges. They entered the 9 Domes Temple of Kali, where the figures of the Divine Mother and Shiva rest on a burnished silver lotus. Master Mahasaya beamed in enchantment. As he chanted her name, Mukunda's enraptured heart seemed shattered into 1,000 pieces.
And there was this tender moment when Mukunda arrived one evening with a champak garland he'd fashioned especially for the saint. But Master Mahasaya shyly drew away, repeatedly refusing the honor. And only when he perceived Mukunda's hurt did he smile consent. "Since we are both devotees of the Mother, you may put the garland on this bodily temple as offering to her who dwells within." His vast nature lacked space in which any egotistical consideration could gain foothold.
And his invariable conclusion to any piece of wise counsel was always the same 5 words: "My master told me so." Every insight traced back to Sri Ramakrishna. So deep was his identity with his guru that Master Mahasaya no longer considered his thoughts as his own. He could serve as an earthly prototype for the very angels of heaven. Without a breath of censure or criticism, he surveyed the world with eyes long familiar with the primal purity. His body, mind, speech, and actions were effortlessly harmonized with his soul's simplicity.
And Yogananda closes the chapter with these words: "Ever enshrined in memory is the seraphic son of Divine Mother, Master Mahasaya." And he wonders whether Master Mahasaya and others among the deep-visioned saints whose paths crossed his knew that years later in a Western land, he would be writing about their lives as divine devotees.
And Yogananda writes at the end of this chapter, "Trying with poor words to do justice to his benignity, I wonder if Master Mahasaya and others among the deep-visioned saints whose paths crossed mine knew that years later in a Western land I would be writing about their lives as divine devotees. Their foreknowledge would not surprise me, nor I hope my readers who have come thus far with me. He's aware that this book itself was part of the plan, that these encounters were being lived for a future telling. Here's the thing about this chapter.
every other saint so far has demonstrated a power. The saint with two bodies, the perfume saint, the tiger swami, the levitating saint. Master Mahasaya demonstrates something different. He demonstrates a relationship. His power is intimacy with God. And that intimacy is so complete that he can ask the Divine Mother to turn off the lights in a lecture hall. And she does. Not because he commands, because she loves him.
Next time, Mukunda's friends face a test of faith that takes everything to the edge. A penniless journey, a promise from the universe, and the discovery that sometimes even the faithful waver.
It's one of the most human chapters in the book. No saints, no levitation. Just two boys and the question of whether the universe actually provides. See you next time.